Well, that was John Kerry. Let's speak to Oded Ravivi, who's from the Yisha Council, a body supporting Israeli communities on the West Bank. He joins us live from Jerusalem. Thank you so much for being here with us. You were listening to the American Secretary of State, a long passage about settlements. What did you make of what you heard?
Well, I think basically John Kerry was just reading out his farewell party and expressing 8 years of dreams which are not coming true and trying to blame the whole world beside himself. I think he needs to look in the mirror. He needs to realize that he didn't read the maps right, he didn't read the people right, he didn't understand where people wanted to go to and what the reality is. When he criticizes the right-wing coalition that Israel has, that's the result of democracy. I'm surprised he doesn't criticize the American people voting somebody to president that he didn't want or didn't support him. Those are the rules of the game. The people decide who they want in, and Israel has got a government which drives a policy which was voted democratically.
Of course, on the issue of settlements, he said a very simple thing at one stage. He said, no one thinking about peace can ignore the problems settlements cause to that peace, complicating everything, making it so much harder to make any sort of progress. Do you not accept that pretty simple assessment?
I think blaming the settlements as the obstacle for peace is a complete myth, which unfortunately has rooted that some people even believe in it. Prior to 1967, there were no settlements. Prior to 1967, there was no peace. After 1967, the Palestinian people living in Judea and Samaria have enjoyed an improvement in their infrastructure, water supply, in levels that they never dreamt that they would achieve in such a short time. When President Kerry, Secretary Kerry says that they should have independence, most of them and more of them don't want to become part of that corrupt Palestinian authority because they know where the funds go to. They know that they're not being looked by their own leadership, and that's why they prefer to have contacts with Israel. I invited Secretary Kerry to come and see in Efrat what coexistence is, how Arabs live alongside Jews, and how we can manage peacefully to run our own business. But he wants to come and interfere. He thinks he knows better. We see what he's brought to the Middle East, and we're not going to let him in Israel draw the same catastrophe that he's drawn in the whole of the Middle East.
He fears that the whole two-state solution is now jeopardized. Do you think it is? Would you like to see a one-state solution, a greater Israel solution?
I think it's not the time to discuss a one-state or a two-state.
Well, he was talking about exactly that. That is exactly what he was talking about. I'm simply asking you.
I'm saying again, he can talk whatever he wants to. If he didn't have the courtesy of coming and visiting Judea and Samaria once and seeing the 500,000 Jewish people living here and see how they live alongside the Palestinians, he can't tell me how to run our country. He can give advice, but that advice has to be based on facts and on reality. Unfortunately, he's not basing his argument not on facts and not on reality, and sometimes not on even legal arguments. At the end of the day, prior to 1967, there were two states and there wasn't peace. In the Oslo Accord, the Israeli government agreed to establishing a Palestinian Authority which was supposed to lead to a Palestinian state. We know today that that Palestinian Authority is completely bankrupt. If it wasn't for any foreign aid, they wouldn't have been able to pay the salaries for their people.
Yes, but and yet we saw that UN resolution absolutely clear in saying there should be no further settlement building. Just a final thought about one of the things that John Kerry said. Because he said the settlers' agenda is becoming Israel's agenda. Now, when he said it, he was clearly fearful of that. Presumably you are not.
Again, that's the rules of the game of democracy. I don't know any other way to rule, and I'm surprised that an American leader is criticizing a democratical result. That's what the Israeli people want. They have to think about the implications. They have to think where that's going to take them. All that is very clear, and that's what the job of the leaders who are being elected, that's what they need to do. Prime Minister Netanyahu just said a few minutes ago, we are willing to negotiate peace. We want to have peace. But the other side, every time that they actually come and are approached, they say a two-letter word, which is no. They were offered 92% of the land. They were offered 96% of the land. The answer is always the same.
Okay.
It's not about land. It's about the recognition of the Jewish people to live in a Jewish state.
OK, Oded Ravivi, thank you so much for joining us here on the programme. Let me bring you one more bit of information.